Alright everyone, it's time for Occult Literature Video 208, Dreams by Leadbeater, or Leadbeater. I've heard it pronounced both ways, Charles Leadbeater. Link in the description to my edition of this work on Amazon, second and third links to my books blogs. A fairly shortest work, I think it's like 50-something pages if I remember correctly. It's interesting. The first section specifically divides dreams into three groups. The physical dream, the etheric dream, and the astral dream. Of course, the concept of like the astral plane is deep ingrained within theosophy, sort of taken off of the Hindu, the Bhagavad Gita and so forth, writings, westernized, rationalized a bit, and maybe reformulated slightly with a slightly Christianized angle and then repackaged into what became theosophy. So it's an interesting work, and this is one of the most prolific authors, along with Besant, and Steiner, really within theosophy. Those three collectively, how many hundreds and hundreds of booklets did they write? Most of them on the shorter side as well. It was considered more popular. It was easier for one. And number two, if you're trying to get the working class to get your books, if you have some huge leather-bound 4-volume set, it costs a lot more than a couple of little paperback booklets. Is really the idea. He goes a little bit into his opinions about how dreams form, what their total purpose is, and so forth. It was actually funny because it wasn't long ago that I actually managed to briefly break through and have a lucid dream for the first time in my life. Gave myself sleep paralysis. It was weird because I was in the dream and I sort of vaguely became aware that I was dreaming, and I consciously at that moment attempted to take control. I was literally looking at myself from behind. I tried to literally take control of myself like it was a video game, like sort of a 3D all-immersion video game thing. I briefly managed to, but then I felt sleep paralysis coming on and sort of like hunched over, and then I woke myself up because I'm like, it's not as pleasant as wandering around in a dream and being able to do whatever you want. It's sort of like a video game while you're sleeping, I suppose. Getting off topic there a little bit. But it's a very good work overall. It talks about some of the mystic side of dreams as well as the psychological. This work mixes rationalism with the more spiritual side, and it's important again to remember that the author is a theosophist. Theosophy's largely died off now. It's not particularly prevalent anymore, although it still exists. They've still got their headquarters in Adyar in India. Some of these people still write works to this day. You got to realize some of them, because they lived so long, some of the latter-day, earlier wave, like Victorian theosophists, lived well into the Cold War era, talking the 60s and 70s, and so they were still producing all of this literature. So it's an interesting work. It's a little bit more deep than that, but the basic concept is breaking apart the dreams into these different types and sort of describing them, overlapping them, and as well, importantly, the most interesting aspect, predictive dreaming. Like a dude who dreamed that he got his leg cut off at a sawmill, and so he got caught, and that he was called into work, and then he decided to very judiciously avoid that particular area of the mill because he knew, it could happen, I don't want to get my leg cut off, it'd probably be bad. And some examples of people predicting like death, especially negative things predicted by dreams. And a little bit about dream symbolism, although he doesn't get into dream interpretation per se. It's just in passing. Again, link in the description of my edition of this work on Amazon, second and third links to my books blogs. I do have several other works that talk about dreams, mostly in the fortune-telling section. There is dream interpretation in some of the fortune-telling works. Some of it quite elaborate, some of it more simplistic. That's about all. Peace out.